But let's say that you just grab some people and you get together and you start practicing. Do you understand? We're trying to build therapeutic skills. That's what's going to make you an awesome therapist. It's not what you're talking about. Hell, it could be a Tupperware party. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons that I want to start this club. Besides reading some really cool stuff, it's also because it's to model and mirror for you therapeutic technique. And unfortunately, with a bachelor's, you're limited. But one of the things you absolutely can do is lead group when you have a bachelor's degree. Okay? So we're starting that, and we're going to pick psychological dramas and psychological stuff so that it's relevant, because then you're going to learn concepts. Just yesterday, I was listening to this lady on NPR, and that prompted me to now find out what she wrote so that I could read it, so that I can bring it into the class, because it was about feeling disenfranchised when the child stops talking to the parents. There are a lot of children that feel unsafe around their parents. And now it's the holidays. And those parents are having Thanksgiving without their kids. And they're suffering. And the kids are having Friendsgiving with their friends. And the whole family dynamic. Well, that's very psychological. That's a real dilemma that's happening in our country. So just by me listening to something on public radio leads me to a book that can lead a book club, that can now teach you something, that can now be brought into a class, that can now create a forum for discussion. And you don't know who's sitting in that. And it could be a novel. It could be a novel. I don't know what this woman wrote. I didn't get to hear what the title. It could have been just a fiction novel. That you don't know who's sitting in that club, that all of a sudden are in that group that says to you, oh my God, I need help, because that resonates with me. That's what's happening in my family. And then you start building a practice. So you never know where your next client is going to come from. You never know who you're going to strike a chord with. So don't think that limitedly. We don't think in a limited form. Everything has to do with psychology. Psychology is everything. The other day I was talking to someone and they said, I don't understand how people want to study business or marketing or all these other degrees and they don't have a requirement to take psychology first. And this was a high school student. She's like, how can psychology not be the first class that everyone has to take? How are you going to work with people if you don't even understand basic human psychological foundations? The basic workings of the brain are just human behavior. And it's so true. So let's not limit ourselves. And we're going to see in a moment just all of the theories just around addictions. We can't limit ourselves because there's so many different things that we can attribute to one thing that's happening in our society. Imagine, all the things that we have, that we come across. Did you find anything?
Does anger management give me an advantage?
Oh, absolutely. Anger management gives you an advantage. I think it's that one.
This one?
No, the Nietzsche. No, the Schopenhauer cure. The Schopenhauer cure. And I'm sure I'm going to spell it wrong.
It's SCHOPENHAU.
Wait, SCHOPEN?
HAUER.
Okay. So this book by Irwin, did I spell it wrong? It's with an I or Y?
Hi.
Irwin Yalom, who's a psychotherapist. It's a fiction book, a great book. This should definitely be one that we read in our book club. And it's fiction, but it's very non-fiction in a way, and those are really good psychological books because it's like we're reading a novel and we're reading fun stuff, but we're getting a lot of psychological concepts. So he talks about Schopenhauer, the philosopher, and you learn a lot about how to lead a group and how to let people talk, and if people are withholding, and if people are really not contributing to the group, and if people are not really sharing their emotions. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal book. So this is a great book for a group. So if you're interested in leading group, and I would like eventually that we do some of that. That brings me to one of the requirements of this class. We are all required in this class to attend an AA meeting in week 3. What's the date? It's the
December
third
4th.
Tuesday of the class.
I've done a couple of
We're
those.
going as a group. We're going as a class.
We're gonna have to find a class, but it's December 4th.
There's a
December
lot up in
4th.
Sunrise.
Okay, so we're gonna find the closest one that fits with our time. That is a requirement. If for whatever reason you miss the class date, the class field trip, and we will have everyone sign the class field trip form, then you must go on your own by that Sunday because you're gonna have a paper requirement, okay? So that's part of this particular class, okay? And we're gonna probably go to AA. We'll see what's there, if there's an AA or an OA.
I can
then-
talk to my friend.
Okay, and there's a website, so we'll also
They
look
still
and see,
go because-
to see what's available, and we'll let you know. But mark your calendars if that's a requirement, and that's a class field trip, okay? So leading groups, now the interesting thing about AA is that it has a very prescriptive group, the way that it's led. It's prescribed. You have to read the thing, you have to say this, you have to say the next thing, you have to call on anyone that wants to respond. It is like anyone can lead a meeting in AA or any of the anonymous because it's written out for you. That's not normally how a group is. But maybe one of the things we'll do in this class amongst ourselves is we'll practice leading a group discussion because it's important to learn how to work with others so that everybody has a voice, that everybody feels heard, but that nobody monopolizes the whole discussion. And that's something that as a teacher you have to do. And sometimes I have to allow one of you to sort of take charge in the room because we're using you as a case study, and that's just a decision you have to make as a teacher. But you want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to participate and that nobody monopolizes. So these are therapeutic techniques because in the one-on-one scenario, it's no different. If your client monopolizes the whole session, then all you're sitting there is going, oh, wow. Well, what is that? That, in a way, to me seems a little condescending, you know? You want to be able to interject with something. Now, sometimes clients just need to be heard. There are going to be sessions, and we've talked about this, where clients just need to be heard, and you have to say, that fucking sucks. You got a raw deal. What a piece of shit. And that might be that particular session. But that's not going to be every week, every time your client comes, you know? So even in your one-on-one clients, the skills that you take from your group sessions are utilizable, if that's a word, in your in your
good.
one-on-one. What?
Sounds
like it, right? In your one-on-one with your clients. Okay? So it's technique, it's skill, all of these things. The other thing that, and I had put this on hold, but I'm going to start now that I'm feeling better. And I know many of you have been asking, so just so you know, tomorrow I'm 2 weeks post-op. And tomorrow I will get my results from my pathology to know if I need radiation. If I need the radiation, I have radiation for 6 straight weeks every single day. And if I don't need radiation, then I'll be getting another surgery within the next week, a month or 2. And then after that, I'll probably need another surgery. So hopefully by the middle, maybe by spring or summer of next year, I'll be done with everything.
It's a word.
It is a word? Okay, good. So that's what's going on with that. So I had postponed the Tell Me a Story discussion for Mondays, but I'm going to start that. So that's on the website, on my website, and that's on the discussion, but I'll give you the exact date. What's the first Monday in December?
The first Monday is the 3rd.
Okay, so December 3rd, and that will be on campus. And that's similar to what we do in class where people share their story. And I have these really cool dice also where I want to do these in class. And these are really fun for leading discussions also because people can throw a dice and then you can create the story and you can see the subconscious themes. And you can use those for anything. And those are also interesting for family dynamics. We'll talk a little bit today about family dynamics, especially in terms of addictions. Because families are so fucked up. And addiction families are extremely fucked up. Well, you know, right? So that's always fun. So that's coming back. That's another opportunity. Now, these are opportunities that I'm putting out there that I'm going to lead, but it's for you guys to come and participate. And when you feel comfortable, you take over. Okay, I am making these open for you guys because I want you guys to get comfortable in these situations with me, with you, so that you guys have the practice, okay? And then I want to do at the beginning of the year and then at least once a month, labyrinth walks. And I want to start with a New Year's resolution labyrinth walk. And that'll be, what's the first Monday of January?
We come back on the 7th.
The 7th, okay, so
Yeah,
maybe the 7th.
everyone comes back from vacation on the 7th.
So Monday's the 6th, okay. Oh, we come back on
No.
Tuesday?
January 6th is a Sunday. Monday, January 7th, we come back to school from our vacation.
Okay, so the 7th to do a New Year's walk. And maybe what we'll do is we'll do it the 8th in class. And we'll do a labyrinth walk to set intentions and things like that for the new year. And that's part of the mindfulness. Mindfulness is a buzzword. Okay, there are times in your career where there are buzzwords. Mindfulness is a buzzword. Know it, memorize it, sleep it, eat it, breathe it. You're going to hear it in everything. All that mindfulness means is being aware of what you're doing, being with it, being present. You're eating. Oh, look at the color of the apple. It's so red. Oh, look how crisp. Oh, look how juicy. You're with the experience. It is believed that if we are mindful, if we are aware that we are with our emotions, that our thoughts are less scattered, and we are more present in the moment. This reduces anxiety, this reduces panic attacks, this helps to keep us centered. This is what the research shows. Now there's frilly mindfulness, like Om, Zen type of meditation type stuff, and then there's basic sort of just, take a step, walk where you're going. This is more mundane or more run-of-the-mill mindfulness. I call it John Kabat-Zinn mindfulness because he's sort of like the father of this type of traditional mindfulness. He's out of Massachusetts. There's a gazillion types of meditation and mindfulness techniques. Today I brought a book and we're going to do a couple of activities. Cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness toolbox. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the #1 type of therapy used. Why? Because it is the model that is most easily researched. It's the one that we can actually have empirical research on. We can do it before, we can do it after, we can collect data, and we can say, yes, this worked. Okay? So it's used heavily. And this whole entire book, I just got this from the library yesterday, so if you guys are interested, you can check it out. I'm going to give it back to her in the next day or two. But I just marked a few activities for us to do today. You guys can check that out. Is mindfulness activities. And we're just going to stop. We're going to become aware. We're going to do a bus activity. We're going to do a pool activity. And these are things that you can do in groups. These are things that you can do one-on-one with a client. And there's your session. And all of it is simply to bring awareness. The word of mindfulness is awareness. And what's my Band-Aid? Awareness, integration, and do it differently. The first step of everything is awareness. Once you bring client to becoming aware, you've got it. Okay? So we're constantly bringing the client back, bringing them back to the awareness of where they are in the here, in the now, what they're feeling in the here, in the now, what they're doing in the here, in the now. I was in Jamaica a few weeks ago. I was in a really bad, dark place. And I was with this lady who went with, I didn't go with her, she was a guest at the wedding, but we were staying in the same villa. And we were at the beach, and we were basically left on Saturday to just be on our own. And then the wedding was on Sunday. And the gentleman who was decorating the wedding had taken us to the beach. The wedding was going to be beachfront. So I had my bathing suit on, went into the water, was just hanging out with her, and I start crying, and I start getting so depressed. And I'm like, oh, because I was in Jamaica last year 3 times, and I was with my ex-husband, and I miss him so much, and oh my God, and all these memories. And she goes, but right now is so beautiful, isn't it? And she just redirected me right to the moment where we were in. And I said, thank you so much for redirecting me back to the present moment. I mean, she was just bringing me back. And that is one of the things that we need to do with clients repeatedly, over and over and over again, is just redirect them back to right now. What are you feeling now? What's happening now? What's going on now? What can you be thankful for now? Okay? This doesn't mean that we minimize what a client is feeling or what they're experiencing or that they're rehashing the past. But this is just one thing that we pull out of our toolbox with clients to bring them back to awareness. So mindfulness is a buzzword. You need to have it stapled on your forehead, stamped on your forehead as a word that you participate in, because it is a thing. So I was in the book fair this past weekend, and I'm walking down, all the little halls to look at all the books. And in the middle of Miami-Dade, which is where they hold the book fair, there's this big, it was like a little, they had set up a bunch of, like a stage. They had a bunch of chairs set up. And the thing was, the new art of mindfulness. And I turned to my friend and we laughed. The new art of mindfulness. Mindfulness is as old as ever. Everything that's on this table, everything, if you look at that Vishnu, if you look at the Buddha, if you look at the St. Francis, if you look at Jesus, it's all about mindfulness. It's all about being present. But now it's a buzzword. And a big area where we use mindfulness is in addictions. Okay? So I want to first start off with some of the theories. Theories are super, super important because why? Why do we need to talk about theories? And we've been saying this from day one.
There's a backstory there where it all begins.
Okay, so that's where it all begins. And as a therapist, you're going to what with a theory?
Bring awareness.
Okay, but what are you going to do with your client? If I practice from one theory and you practice from another theory, is our session going to look the same? No. Does that mean that mine is better than yours? No. It just means that I'm going to have a different theoretical perspective. I'm going to have a different belief system about how the addiction, or anything, in this case we're just doing addiction, came to be. That's it. Paula is going to tell her client, addiction arises from XYZ, and I'm going to say, your addiction arose XYZ. Hers isn't wrong, mine isn't right. It's just different. So we really need to understand that there are a bunch of different theories. This is super important. This poster, thank you, Marcia, and we're all praying for you for a speedy recovery, is a crux of the foundation, a crux of our profession. We must understand what theoretical perspective we are practicing from. I cannot stress this enough. Eventually, for those of you who are not so far into the program, you will need to write your capstone on your theoretical perspective. For those of you who are finishing, you got lucky. You only had to do it in that one class. But for those of you who are still pretty early on, you're gonna start formulating what you believe to be the cause of illness, to be the cause of mental illness, to be the cause of anxiety, of distress, of whatever it is that you're gonna be, writing your paper on. So in terms of addictions, we want to look at the different theoretical perspectives or models. So first we want to look at the psychological models. Oh, good, a good marker.
Throw that other one away.
What?
Throw that other one
Oh
away.
my God, yeah, like one is worse than the other. Okay, so the psychological models, the first one is cognitive behavioral. I wish Tanisha was here.
Oh my God.
It's okay, I told him to go to registrar after class, so he wouldn't miss. So, a while back, we did a judgment assignment, and we picked up a keyword, and Tanisha said variety. Does everyone remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the model, cognitive behavioral therapy, says that people choose addiction to experience variety. Who likes variety in their life? Okay, so Nellis and Pedro, according to CBT, the two of you are prone to addictions.
Oh yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Tell me why. I love it. Disclose.
We were talking about it.
I know. Okay,
She
so
said, I want to experience everything before I die.
yeah.
Okay, so what my notes say. Suggest people take drugs to experience variety. For self-exploration, religious insights, altering moods, escaping from boredom and despair, enhancement of creativity, remind me to tell you a story, performance, sensory experience, and pleasure.
All of them.
Variety, all of the above. Variety equals repeated actions. So I want to do things, but I don't want to have the same experience each time I do it. That's the hospital, but I'll get it after. So talk to me.
Well, I have a long line of alcoholics in my family.
Okay. Does this theory resonate with you? Along the lines of what they might want?
Well, I feel like the first person that comes to mind is my cousin, and he's so young and he's so close to being like deathly ill because he's been drinking since he was like 14 and he's like 34 now. So,
Wow.
And when I say drinking, I say drinking. Like he doesn't remember, he changed his personality completely. And I feel like that's kind of like a way for him to escape. He's very quiet. He's very like to himself. He doesn't like to show emotions. And when he's drunk, he dances, he sings, he tells you, he loves you. So I feel like that's a way of him escaping. I would say my way, I feel like, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I've tried things that other people have tried and they cannot, just say, I won't do it again. And I've been able to. And I think it's because it's a way of me tempting myself and saying, you can do it and you will get over it. You're not like the rest of your family. You're not going to get addicted to that. But I was just telling her how this
That's
weekend.
interesting. Look what she's saying.
Yeah.
She's putting a parameter of this is the behavior that creates addiction. And I'm going to bring myself here, but I'm going to bounce back, whereas those others in my family don't. So there is a test of will there. That's a very interesting thing. It's a little different, but this is a test of will that you're saying.
Yeah, I test myself on for example, my other cousin, my other cousin's brother, which we grew up like brothers. We lived together. When he got here, I introduced him to my hobbies, which is, at the time, it was coke and weed. And he got to a point that he wouldn't sleep, he wouldn't do anything, because all he had to do, he always had to have a $50 worth of coke on him. He didn't really like weed, but I was like, okay, you can't have both, you have to get like another full-time job just for that. So I saw how he couldn't be without coke, and when he didn't have coke, he would be like super pesado, he would be like, like, do you know anybody where I can get? I'm like, are you serious? Like, chill. I couldn't understand that. So I've been testing myself, and I was telling Aniela how this weekend I tried something that I've been waiting my whole life to try. She's like,
Her whole life.
Her whole 23 years.
23 years of life.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about like how people, after trying like ecstasy and stuff, they can't get off it, and like it's so great that they have to put themselves in like debt and go homeless just because of this drug. And goddamn, it's good, but come on, like it's not for you to lose a house and like just do that. So it's that's a way of me trying to understand my family, but at the same time, kind of, like the military, how you train to have that resistance to, that's how I feel when I do this stuff. And I probably have done more stuff than I should. And I was telling her yesterday how I was doing stuff and like my body was acting weird, and I was like,
So there is one theory that you'll read about, which is the idea of morality, and it sounds that there's a little bit of that there. So a part of you wants to experience this variety, like in cognitive behavioral. Like you said, to understand your family and understand what's going on, and perhaps even a neurotransmitter sort of receptor, what's going on, what happens to me, the neurobiological. But there seems to be a judgment that as long as I can bring myself out of it, as long as I don't become an addict, as long as I don't, which I totally resonate with, do not get me wrong. It's so much to the point that I don't do things because I'm so morally based, okay? But there seems to be a little bit of that as well. And remember that nothing is black and white. You don't need to be clear-cut, one theoretical perspective, black and white. Just be careful when it comes to morality that we're not judging the client. And that's something that I had to learn. I had to learn that like a hard way, because I didn't recognize that I was judging, because I thought I was so goody two-shoes, that I didn't realize that was sort of alienating those. I didn't show it probably verbally, but maybe non-verbally, or maybe in my after, maybe after the client left, I was judgmental. So just watch that a little, because it sounds to me, I could be wrong, but it sounds as if there might be a little bit of morality there. So if it's a judgment, and I'll share a story in a minute about this with religious experience. Yes.
I did the same. I'm almost 30 though. I did
So
the
she's
same,
so
but
much
I
older.
went. No. But I went at 25. What I'm trying to say is I did all what you did, but 25 and over, which is bullshit, because I should have done it younger, in my perspective, because my mom. But what I'm trying to say is, you end up losing yourself, and you end up losing everything. I did, and I had to hit that to come up from it. Because just like you, I was like, oh, what the fuck? How do these people do this? Like, I would never do that. Like, I had judgment, just what you're saying, because of my parents. My mom was like, I was a